It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show. Hey,
Look at this.
With that mic in your hand. I have that is stuck to the side of our blender. It's the only place we could find it that was magnetic. Our refrigerator, for some reason, is not magnetic.
I know, mine's not either. And our kids would have like accomplishments or just want some adoration, and they would go and tape things to it.
Aww. At least they know that's how it, that's the tradition.
Yeah, that's where you're supposed to be. Yeah, they go to their friend's house and they're like, wow, their parents really love them.
Who decided let's not make refrigerators magnetic anymore?
Yeah, the same people that decided let's not have electric can openers. Right?
What happened to the electric kettle? Why isn't it? Now I get it. You don't want another appliance that you can just keep in a drawer. But why isn't there a drawer level electric can opener by now?
Exactly. They were everywhere. When you're a kid, they were all over the place.
Yeah.
Now I can't find one.
Here's another question.
Okay.
Why aren't all cans?
Just tab it.
Like now sometimes you get a thing of olives. Oh, thank God. You can just go boop, beep.
I know. That's I buy
dog
those.
Dog food, beep, boop.
I changed my tuna because of that. Cento, C-E-N-T-O, the Italian people that make the tomatoes. They also do tuna with a little flippy flip.
The people that make the tomatoes like from the bear with the like
narrow
tomatoes.
No, that's the I forget their name. Yeah, those are the fancy ones.
Yeah, they must have skyrocketed after that.
After the bear got it.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see you. I baked you some bread. It's still warm.
Are we going to eat it or
No, you can bring it home.
I'll bring it home actually.
Yeah.
There's nothing I love more than like warm bread and butter.
Do you want to just look at it?
I would like to look at it.
All right, I'll show it to you.
But I will say I just did David Chang's Dinner Time Live.
I saw that. I was jealous.
I don't want to eat on television anymore. That is a whole other look. I had not. Wow.
I know.
I just want to hold this against like period cramps.
We were just talking about that, but a huge trend. If you want to quit comedy,
yeah, I'm listening,
and have people still adore you, the trend is to eat things on camera and just have it drip on your face and be disgusting. Those accounts have millions of views.
Yeah, I am not one of them. I can't. I don't like I think Brad Pitt is a brilliant actor. Mm-hmm. He's so good.
Yeah.
But he's an eating actor.
Uh-huh.
And every movie he's eating because it's so natural and real, and I can't even. Not only can I not hear it, I need to go like this. I can't see it. I have to just go like that and have someone tap me when it's over. I'm so sound sensitive. It's like it fills me with a rage I can't control. I have nothing to do with it.
So, what do you think? It's generational. Like, why are people now into like Guy Fieri eating and licking his fingers? Yeah.
I don't know. People are fucked up.
Do you want a cigarette?
To not smoke?
Yeah, you don't have to smoke it. I don't smoke it.
I've reached my limit.
What do you mean?
I have my one cigarette a day. I have exactly one cigarette.
Same time?
People I'm known for 30 years don't even know. They're shocked. Because I really only have one. I really have no desire for more than one.
Really?
And I just love it with coffee in the morning.
Oh. I've always wanted to do this. How many times have I said this?
It's a dream.
And I said to a friend of mine, I just want to do like, what was it, House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, right?
Oh, I've heard of it, yeah. He's from that show House of Cards.
Yeah, he was that guy.
He's most known for that show House of Cards.
Yeah. Where's he been? Anyway.
England.
He went to England. Him and his wife at the end of each episode would open this little wooden box and they'd take out one cigarette.
Yeah.
And they'd have that cigarette. I was like, I want to do that. And my friend said, that would be great, but that's not how cigarettes work.
I mean, it isn't. It is for me for some
so
reason.
Brilliant.
And I listen, the joke will be on me if I get you know what.
2 cigarettes?
No, lung cancer. Because, but I smoke pot. I'm trying to eat it more, but
smoking it's better.
It just is lighter. You kind of know what you're in for.
Yeah. I don't like eating it and waiting to see what's going to happen.
If I'm just home, I'll eat it.
Right.
But yeah. You never smoked?
I never smoked cigarettes.
That's good.
When I was a boy, I was walking with my pals on a street in New Jersey, and there was a lit cigarette on the ground, and I picked it up and went, "Whoa, it's lit," and just inhaled and got so, I didn't throw up. It's so sick.
That's a mitzvah that happened. That's from Hashem that happened.
Thank you, Hashem.
I'm just guessing Joe is Jewish. Is Joe a Jewish name? Joseph, yeah.
Joseph. Yeah. Yeah, the big dad. Yeah, and I never smoked because of that. But I like cigars. And I also
cigars, yeah.
Cigar once in a while. And weed. But I'm not as great on weed anymore.
Yeah, you know what? I love weed. And I will I'll smoke it out and about, like at a party because they don't drink, I'll have weed. But I'm definitely, it's not a guarantee that I'll be cool.
Right.
I think I can get really dumb,
Quiet? Do you get quiet?
Sometimes at my best self, I get quiet because I go, oh, wait, I don't have to say everything that comes to my mind. I do like a little thing inside myself, oh, what if I didn't say everything that came to my mind? Oh, it's like almost like a relief. Yeah,
right.
Just listen, But sometimes I say like a zinger, but I mess up my words. Mm-hmm. And it's like missing your 2 front teeth.
I know.
Messing up a word in comedy. That's
when I started to realize that weed was going to be a problem for me. I smoked a lot, like end of high school into college, and I was just smoking all the time. And I went back to a party in my high school, and this guy, Chris, he was older than me, a couple of years older than me, and he was Irish, and he was just hilarious. Just one of those, like kind of, he wasn't Boston, but that kind of
pink-faced.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Using curses like better than everybody. And we used to riff all the time in high school at parties. We would just be the funny ones, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I showed up at this party high, and he just ran circles around me. I couldn't keep up. And I was like, yeah, and another funny thing. And he was looking at me like, what happened to Tom? And I just had in the back of my head, like, I'm not as funny high as I am straight.
I did stand up high like the whole year I was 20.
Uh-huh.
And I just got by, but I didn't like write a joke, or I wasn't like good. I didn't discover anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are so many comics that go on stage high and they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And they're totally sharp, and they're not mush mouth. Like I get mush mouthy and stuff. Like for me, stand up and weed are like my 2 favorite things that if they're together, they're the biggest nightmare.
Yeah. It's so unfortunate.
But it's nice after as a treat.
I know. I always think about you that way because you said that to me once, that when your work is done and you're done your stand-up, then you can have it. But even if you do it early in the day, it's not good if you have a set that night.
That's the thing is, and as a stoner, it really like having a set, I'm ashamed to say this, it like ruins my day. But I don't usually smoke pot in the day, but it's like now I know I can't because I have a set tonight. And
right.
Even if I'm not stoned anymore, I'm just cloudy, I'm not sharp. And so what's the point of doing stand-up if there isn't the chance I'll discover something or figure something out?
When you say it ruins your day if you have a set that night, is it because you can't do the fun smoking things, or just there's a little bit of dread like, oh, I have a set tonight? I
mean, I don't usually smoke weed in the day anyway, but maybe in the late afternoon as I'm going to walk the dogs or something, I would. But it isn't just that. It's I was just talking with, I'm going to be real name droppy, Beth Stelling, Alana Johnston, and Mo Welch.
Ooh, Beth Stelling.
We were hanging out. Oh, my God. And God, she's prolific. Madonna me. But we were talking. We were hanging out and we were kind of bringing up things because we're all comics. Like, hey, I said I don't know what's going on lately because when I have stand up, it's like a dark cloud over my head all day. And then I'm always glad and I have a great time and I love doing it and it's my joy. But like this cloud over my head looming like, oh, I've got to prepare and I don't have anything new and I don't, and it's silly. I know better than this. I feel like if someone came to me with this problem, I'd be like X, Y, and Z, But it's just like I need to figure out how to just enjoy the day like any other day. Put, between 4 and 5, I'm going to work on my set. Just have it in my schedule like anything else and not fret.
I know what you mean, though. I get up in the morning and the first thing as I'm walking into the bathroom, I'm thinking, what's today? And if I know I have a set that night, it's a much different head than if I don't have a set. And I'm just waking up. Like I'm not even seeing clearly. But I know I have something waiting for me at the end that if I should be prepared for. I don't want to just show up and go through the motions. And it's not like the dread, like when you're very first starting. Remember when you very, very first started?
When I I lived for it. It was like, I never dreaded it. I was like, I'd eat shit every night and be like, wow.
Yeah. So what do you think the shift is? I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't like it. And I need to really, I want to change it.
Right. Yeah.
Do you, when you're on the road, are you one of those comics that can like go on a tour of a museum and go see the sights and like try the, big thing in town that is the thing in Madison, Wisconsin or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm so in awe. Like Jeff Ross, he lives every day, just does all the things. He doesn't want to miss a thing. And then he's stoned and he's, just like living life. And then he gets on stage and murders with no notes. I'm like,
yeah, I know. No, I'm not.
It's such a talent. It's such a freedom.
I know. Fortune has a little of that when we talk. Like she'll roll in. She can do things up until the show. Like she'll go have dinner at 5 and like sit in a restaurant and talk to a waiter and have a drink and then like she does things. I'm like, I have to shut it down.
Me too.
At 2:00. If I have a 7:00 on the road, 2-3 in the room, getting my head straight, looking at my notes, maybe eat a little something, never at a restaurant. I'm not going to go do that.
If I'm not traveling on the day, then that's its own thing. Like,
right.
But like sometimes I like to get there the night before and then I like to stay in bed. I'm not going to be sleeping the whole time, but basically in bed doing nothing until about 4.
Right.
Then I get up, I shower, I eat something, I have coffee, my cigarette.
Nice.
And then then it's like, it feels like a work day, like where you get up and you get ready and you go to work and then you do it and then I'm just like,
then you're good. Yeah.
And I don't like going out. I like to hang out backstage, have pot, smoke, hang out with people, say hello or whatever. And then I go back to my hotel and then I'm up pretty late. That's why I'll like drive to the next place after a show so then I'm just
there and in your thing. Yeah. I do wake up a little earlier. What time do you fall asleep when you're in these situations?
Whenever, I find a Law and Order like marathon channel. And then, sometimes I'm sleeping by 1, sometimes it's 4.
Right. Yeah. I'll usually get up kind of early, like before noon, and I'll have coffee and stuff. But I think any activity I do, this might be just psychotic, but I think that any activity I participate in during the day is going to take away from how good I'm going to be on stage.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's true, but that's my head too.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it might not be true. It might be true, though. Sometimes I get tired out there. You know what I mean? I'm just tired. And then I'm on stage going, it's just not coming out. It's just a stamina thing, I think.
It's just so interesting, too, how, like, an audience is a mob. Like, they all work as one. Like, they all laugh at the thing or no one laughs at the thing. Like, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
I can't remember that was coming back to us some point, but I don't remember what it is. 'Cause...
About being tired and they're beating up on you, maybe?
Oh, well, just like after your first joke, you kind of have an idea if this is going to be fun or you're just going to be like,
yeah,
it's going to be like one step up from like practicing in front of the mirror. You know, like,
yeah, constantly analyzing, thinking the entire way.
The worst I ever did was I did a casino and I had a spotlight on me and I don't like, some comics love being blinded. They don't want to see anybody. I like to see the first, few rows a little bit. So I had no idea. I just came out and was blinded. I did my first joke. It got almost pretty much nothing.
Uh-huh.
And then I just thought, oh my God, this is going to be the longest hour of my life. And I just, there's no grace period where they're laughing and you think of the next thing.
Yeah.
It's just like gulp. I get through it.
Uh-huh.
I eat a bowl of shit. And then the lights came up and it was full. It was a full silent crowd. I was like, huh? It was like extra. What was already humiliating was like, wow.
Oh.
That is the sound of many people not laughing.
All in agreement that I'm terrible.
Oh. Casinos can be rough.
Casinos are rough.
But they're, sent from heaven. But
Jerry Seinfeld once said to me that doing stand-up in Atlantic City was like shoveling wet snow.
Wait, shoveling wet snow?
Very heavy.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of work. It's not like, look at this beautiful. It's...
Yes. Yeah, because, and then like what you thought was an hour is like 39 minutes, What else is in the news?
Your special was so good.
Yeah, thank you.
It was so good. I watch a lot of specials because of my radio gig.
Right.
And yours just sailed. It was
so
like
glad.
It was like a 15-minute experience in an hour. It was just you're so good. You've always been so good. How do you it's a weird thing because we're both in comedy. We're both do things. You always seem very natural. You always seem like you know yourself, that the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you approach stand. It all seems to me from the outside to be very second nature.
I mean, I think it is, but we get in the way of that. So it's just trying to like get out of the way of that. Like I had like a thing with my throat where I was unconscious or they couldn't make me unconscious, but they just put me on like so much drugs. I was intubated. So it was like almost like an induced coma, but my eyes were open, but I don't have any visual memories. And
Jeez.
But hearing back from my friends and family, I was hilarious. And it's interesting when you get out of the way of yourself. I mean, I'm not saying it was clever. It was like, they gave me a pencil and paper and my hands were tied down because like when you wake up and you're intubated, your instinct is to pull this thing out of your throat.
Oh my God.
So I would realize it was horrible. But anyway.
Jeez.
And I would write notes down, and I have no memory of it at all. But my manager, Amy's, kept all of the notes. And one, I guess there was a nurse in the room, and I couldn't speak, but somehow conveyed to her, like, I have a very important, question, like, and I'm like, ugh. And I write down, and I'm writing, and I wrote, do you live with your mom? And then a picture of a dick. I mean, comedy's really just getting out of the way of yourself. And when you are, it's like pure gold. I mean, I would never think to write that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it does seem like that. I mean, I remember seeing you when I first showed up at Stand Up New York, just as doing bringer. Like I was just walked in, and you were on stage, and you're not very different from then. you're really like you see people like kind of figure things out, and they almost become different people on stage, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's calculated. They're doing. You're pretty much the same entity. There seems to be, you've grown and all that kind of stuff. But
when I was younger, I saw old like Evening at the Improv or thinking, I talk like this, or like when I wrote at Saturday Night Live in, the early 90s, the mid 90s. And there's like, someone sent a clip where like Cindy Crawford for MTV is doing some like behind the scenes of like the writers of SNL. And I'm there, she's talking to me, and Rory was just imitating it because we saw it. And I'm like, I'm not like the Harvard guys. Like they're just like, whatever. A lot of the writers are from Harvard. Had this like, I don't know if it was an affect or if now is one, or it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. I was 22. So.
Yeah. How old were you the first time on stage?
17.
17.
In Boston.
Man,
Stitches.
Oh man. It's Stitches.
Remember Stitches?
I don't remember Stitches.
Really
No. I remember Nick's.
I remember walking in and Wendy Liebman was on stage.
Wow.
And I remember the jokes she did.
Yeah.
She said, it was something about like someone, she said, someone told me I look like Ruth Buzzy. And then she goes, I don't know who that is. Is she pretty?
She was one of the first people I opened for.
Oh my, she's such a game changer.
I know. So powerful.
No one is like her. She changed the format.
Yeah. So many people did that cadence. Yeah. After her.
I remember seeing her first Letterman. Like it was like a big deal. For me.
And it was just in this little package, and then just kapow. Just so dominant. This was so long ago that I remember her being on the computer checking her emails, and it was like new. It was new to like check an email backstage at Rascals.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We really have lived through like the craziest changes in tech. Like when I wrote at Saturday Night Live, there were computers, but we not there. Like
right.
We wrote on those yellow legal pads and then handed it into a room of lady typists.
Oh my God. I used to fax Colin jokes.
Wow. Yeah.
I used to fax them to him. It's so insane. Do you think, looking back, that you navigated the competitive part of stand-up, the concern of others while this is kind of back to you seeming natural and getting out of the way of yourself. There's also a tendency to get in the way of yourself from everyone else's perspective or from their opinions or where you stack up with people. I'm
not going to say I'm void of any jealousy, but I never really hung up on that stuff. Listen, there's definitely stuff where it's like, I have a harder time if I have free time watching comedy because it's just more stressful than like I love a thriller or a murdery something, or like that stuff is my joy because it's just like purely relaxing.
It's not your business.
But when I make myself watch comedy, which I feel like I need to do, especially as you get older, you have to, you know what I mean? Like, like if I didn't push myself to watch I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, then I wouldn't have seen it, and I wouldn't have been so. I find it totally inspiring. Have you watched that show?
Oh God, 100%.
Like I don't know Tim.
Me neither.
To me, it is such a fucking gorgeous tears funny exploration of toxic masculinity. It's like the first move to like towards like a real men's movement that isn't like Promise Keepers or something, but like you know, it's
Like-
just you know, like Rory, my boyfriend, who you know, what's this? A little dog on
Yeah,
here.
we have a little dog on it.
All right, let's focus. Well, I mean, Rory
It's a
said
Labrador.
something so brilliant, and just because it's his experience growing up in Long Island, he's just like, you know, you know, boys are raised to like not have any feelings. No feeling is considered masculine other than rage. So like everything he felt, if it was heartbreak or sadness or vulnerability or shame or any of it, it just gets instantly converted into outward rage or outward blame.
Right.
And I see that in so many men. And as a woman, like I've been definitely a part of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fucked up.
It's really fucked up. But that is why, back to what you're saying of paying attention to comedy, because every once in a while someone shows up like that and they break down a wall and it's like, it's evolving. And this is a moment where it's evolved. Like
to be tears funny, where I'm like, Rory and I are just pacing because it's so brilliant and we're just
so
laughing
great.
so hard. And to me, have such meaning attached to it. Like,
I know.
wow, like he pulls the door the wrong way and he's embarrassed. So he makes it, I mean, it's like.
I love when he's in his car. I think about it every time I get in a rental car on the road and people are honking at him. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm not good at this.
Because it's so over the top, but it's also like, right.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I know.
And then we went back and watched his show Detroiters with Sam Richardson.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's 2 seasons of pure fucking joy.
I still haven't seen that.
Over here.
You've seen that, Joe?
It's
Really?
Yeah,
it will just make you happy.
Yeah. Judd had that too with his movies, like about the emotions of men. Like just watching his characters like really talk to each other and like you know, I really like you. I love you. You know, it was like that was a big leap. How weird. 2020, probably 2017. That was odd. That 2 friends could sit there and just say, just be truthful about how they think about each other, or feel about each other.
I mean, our family. Like when I hear, like my boyfriend talking to anyone in his family, and they're just like, "Okay, or I'll talk to you soon," you know, whatever. It's like, oh my God, my family's like, I love you too. Okay, I love you so much. I love you too. Okay, love you too. You know, it's like you feel guilty if you're not the last one to say it. It just goes on for minutes. You know, like what if they don't know?
My wife says it at the end of every phone call.
Oh, so, like to the Sparklets guy.
No, I hope not. No, but it's just like, even if it's just, can you pick up kitty litter on the way home? Yeah, I got it. Okay, love you.
Oh my God,
like,
me too.
Love you. And I don't do it, I do probably 75% of the time. But that 25% that I don't do it, I'm like, what's wrong with me?
What does it take? You know, God forbid. I mean, every time a comic kills themselves or dies or drug overdose or however they die.
Yeah.
I feel like the comedy community remembers to say I love you to each other more.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I know.
And I just like, pretty much any comic I'm talking to, all right, I love you. You know, like,
I know. I love you has become goodbye.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think I have no worry that it waters down the value or the meaning of I love you.
Right, like you got to store them up.
It puts more love out there.
Right.
You know?
You don't have to hold on to
like,
it.
Oh, I don't want to say goodbye every time because then what does goodbye mean? You know, like.
Yeah.
It's always crazy when people don't say goodbye on TV. They just go, get it done. And they just hang up. And the person on the other end, even if he's an assassin, he's like, bye? Hello?
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about smoking? Because it's so human, like how afraid we are of change, whatever the change is, and how we're, as humans, drawn to what's comfortable way more than what we want or we would want. Like, my stepmother needed to be in a state of worry.
Yeah.
Like, she would always go towards that, even if I could explain to her that there was nothing to worry about.
Right.
That's not comfortable for her. You know what I mean? And
it's her state.
But all those things. So we're so afraid of change and what we don't know that when smoking... I remember being at the Hollywood Improv when smoking became illegal inside.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was weird.
And I don't, other than one cigarette, I don't smoke, and I never smoke indoors or anything.
Yeah.
But I was so indignant I was just like, that is crazy. How can there even be a comedy club without smoke in the air? That's insane. Like, comedy's gonna go away now. You know, like, it's so crazy how threatening it was to me, who isn't someone who smokes.
Yeah.
And isn't that funny?
And now the idea of having smoke in a building.
Could you ever imagine that? That's insane. Like, you go to Europe and you're like, oh my God. Do they still smoke inside there? I don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to host at the Cellar, and you'd be there it was one host for the whole night. You'd be there from 9 to 2:30 and with people smoking the entire time. You come home and just throw your clothes out.
Them. Yeah. You just have to, you couldn't wear your clothes more than one. It's... The last time that happened, because I used to play at Eddie Brill's apartment, poker every Monday.
Right.
And they still, would smoke inside. And it was like, the last time I was there, I came home, I took my clothes off, I was like, wow, what a flash from the past to have, like, just clothes that reek of cigarettes.
Who was in that game? It was William
Stevens. He was the heart of it. So I kind of like... Every once in a while, I think they still play, but it goes off into entropy. And he would write a couple days later, he would write like an essay of like what happened that night and the hands and the music that was played and everything. And it's so good. It's called The Hammer Down. And J.R. Havlin like took it over.
Oh, really?
I mean, they really should publish them because there's so many of them over so many years, and they're so funny, and all the characters are so...
Yeah. Who was the main people?
Eddie, William, J.R. Havlin, Vic Henley. Sometimes people would come, like Louis would come here and there back in the day, or Hank Greenberg. What's wrong with me? Yeah, is that his name? He had a crazy laugh.
The guy with the little curly hair.
He kind of was like comedy adjacent. Like, I think he worked at the Daily Show.
Right.
He booked, anyway, and he would book, whatever, I'm going off into millions. I'm spiraling out into the universe.
Yeah, but I remember hearing about that game. I never went there. I loved all those guys, but I never went.
Oh, my brother-in-law's brother. Who's called Cockman in that group. But his name is Adam Abramowitz. And I never remembered why they called him Cockman. I said, where did that come from? Like, I brought him once, and he's played ever since for like 20 years.
Right.
And they reminded me that I was at the table, and I was doing well. And then I got a phone call, which is not usually cool, but I had to take it. And... he kept borrowing, I'm like a sister-in-law. So he kept going, he kept being out and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. And he never paid me back or something, like in the chips. And I wasn't even aware of it, but they were like, so they started calling him Cockman. We'll edit this out. We're really.
I like it. It was, you were, there weren't that many women that were hanging with all of the guys. I
grew up with poker.
Yeah.
I played, Mondays back in the day in New York were the best days of my life because it was, in the day was softball.
Softball, yeah.
And I used to play for the comic strip, but then he never played me. Lucian never played me. I literally played for the state of New Hampshire. Like, softball is a woman's. Everyone would go like, "Do you have brothers?" And I'd be like, "No, I have sisters. We're playing a woman's sport." It's like so odd. And they do a slow. We did fast pitch, but anyway. And he never played me. It drove me crazy. And then Mike Ivey, who is like the coach of the improv team, said, if you come play with us, because I never worked at the improv in New York.
Yeah.
I'll play you every inning of every game. And I was like, okay. And that,
Wow.
and I played every inning of every game. It was so fun.
Amazing.
We'd smoke weed, and then at the end, I'd walk across the park by way of the polar bears, the zoo, get on the 6 train, come downtown, take a nap, and then it was time for poker. It was just
so
the
great.
greatest.
It really was a special time in New York. That
And
was
sometimes
really
we'd play till like 9 a.m. and then get breakfast.
amazing. That is the coolest. How cool is it that the NCAA women's final
13
outdrew
million.
the men's final? Finally.
So excited. Oh my
Finally.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
It's
Caitlin Clark, she's like, she's that little thing changing the game, like, where.
I know. I had this moment, and it seemed kind of corny, just being by myself walking my dog. But I was walking my dog, and there was a young girl playing basketball alone in her driveway, and she was just like just repping it out, just like trying these layups. And I was like, we know what she did last weekend.
Yeah.
She watched
and
all
watching
of us.
Caitlin Clark like signing autographs, and it's just a sea of these girls' faces,
I
so
know.
excited and peppered with boys.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was walking my dog a while ago, and I was like, my number one, like, most favorite thing to like extravagance is like if someone who has like floor seats gives me their floor seats at an NBA game. There's just nothing more exciting.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what are we doing? Like, it's just as exciting if I can be on the floor seats of a WNBA game. Like, I should exclusively do that. Nothing, so.
Yeah.
And then I just bought 2. They're affordable seats on the floor for a Sparks game.
Yeah.
And Leslie Jones is way ahead of me. She's like, she has
Already
season
there.
floor seats forever, full Sparks gear, and it's so fun. It's a scrappier game. It's just a different, slightly different game, and it's really fun.
It's so great. It's so intense. While we're on the dog thing, I was I was like, I gotta ask Sarah what's happening. Congratulations with your pet show.
Oh.
Being with Letterman, that's just so.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so insanely great. So I have a red eye tonight to New York. My dogs were aware of it when I saw them first thing this morning. I haven't packed.
Oh.
I haven't. We did the radio show. I had but my dogs. What is it about us that the dogs read that we don't know we're giving off? Like, how your dog knows when you stand up from your desk.
Oh, yeah.
Either we're going out or you're leaving me. Like, they know.
Yeah.
Like, what is the energy that we give off that's slightly different that dogs see that?
Do you have the answer? Or
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I was hoping you knew.
You start organizing things, maybe.
Maybe stand up a little more briskly, or I don't know.
You didn't pack. I mean, the suitcase
Haven't
is
packed.
a dead. The second the suitcase comes out.
Oh
they're
God,
like,
forget it. Then they just collapse. My dog, I left. Our kids are gone now, and Cynthia was packing up to go meet me, and she said when she brought this, she brought the suitcase out, and our lab was just collapsed on the floor. Was acting like her legs didn't work. Was just doing this whole horrible thing until she got in the car. So brutal.
Well, who watches the dogs when you leave? Do you take them somewhere?
No, we have someone stay at the house.
That's what I do too.
Yeah, they just come and stay, and you give them all of your money and passcodes, and
I know. You have to find that person that you can just completely trust, or a handful of them.
Yeah.
And then just never go away for Christmas and New Year's.
I know. Yeah, now that our kids are out, we're like, we could go back to New York for like months at a time if we want. Oh, the dogs. No, we can't.
I know.
Can't.
And Roy won't talk about it. I go, well, in a few years. He's like, because they're 9 and 11.
Yeah.
To commemorate 9/11.
Yeah.
And
that's so nice. We didn't time it out. It should have been timed out. We should have gotten the dogs when the kids were younger. So it all kind of timed out.
Oh,
I know. It's morbid.
it.
I know. It's horrible. I know. It's bad.
it's the circle of life.
When you grew up, who cooked for you the most? I'm sensing your mom wasn't
when she wanted to cook, she was a great cook.
She was?
She wasn't. Sometimes she would make I say great cook. Rory says, well, you have the palate of a 10-year-old. She would make pasta shells with butter and all this grated jack cheese, which I know is not
nice.
Italian. So good. But we were at my dad's house. There would be 6:00 dinner, and my stepmom would make something, but
and sit down, the family.
Yeah, sit down. But at my mom's, where I lived most of the time, it was more like frozen Lender's bagels and cream cheese up in your room vibes.
Right.
Yeah. Fend for yourself is what my mom called it. Fend for yourself.
Fend for yourself. If you lived in a sit-down home, which I did, fend for yourself, friends. It was like you were going to camp or something. It was so cool and exciting.
Right.
It was like, what? We can just make nachos and sit in your room? It was like at 8 at night, it was like freedom. It was so great.
Yeah, but I would eat at my best friend Carrie's house, and I loved it because they had family dinner, and it wasn't in silence, right? It was just nonstop belly laughs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. But there was a lot of pressure too, because then you'd get grilled by your parents on what you were doing.
Oh, at the Fend for Yourself friend's house?
No, at my house. You'd sit there and your dad's looking at you across the thing and what'd you get on the test?
Oh, yeah.
Fend for yourself. They never saw your grades.
I never got what'd you get on the test.
No.
My parents, I'm the youngest, so
yeah.
There's one page, just the cover page of a baby book of me. Just the baby, the photo from being born, and then all the pages are empty. So my sisters have books, and I'm lucky, and I think that's why youngest siblings are always comedians. Are you youngest sibling?
Oldest.
Well, you just ruined the theory.
Yeah, but my dad was dominant, so I had to hustle. Maybe that's the.
But usually, you probably had to take care of your siblings more.
Yeah, you had to go through everything first. You had greater expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the youngest, they've given up.
I really love watching because I have daughters, watching the little tidbits that I could glean from your life and from your act and from social media and of you and your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah. And I was always trying to figure it out. I mean, it seemed like he treated you like a pal. In some regard.
We became best friends. I mean, as a kid, he had a very, not physical, but violent temper. Just, you didn't know when he was going to lose his shit.
Really?
It was terrifying. And I hear about children of alcoholics, and it sounds similar, where it's just, you don't know what the vibe is going to be when he gets home. And it's scary. But as we got older, and he got older, and got on Zoloft and chilled out.
Yeah.
He became the most amazing man.
Where'd that temper come from?
He was always funny.
He was.
Well, listen, he said something to my oldest sister, Susie, and it's true. He's like, I'm a much better parent than my dad was, and you'll be a much better parent than I was. But he grew up in just the worst. He had his father just beat the shit out of him every day. Just punched
oh my
beat him
God.
up.
Jeez.
And
was he a drunk? Or
he was just filled
really
with rage.
Jeez.
And he had a younger brother that was untouched. And my mother, same situation. She was horribly abused and hurt by her mother and her little sister untouched.
Took all the blows.
Which is all, both of those things are horrible. How Michael Jackson, his father wouldn't get mad at him, but everyone else, and that just made him,
God.
I don't know why.
And then the two of them end up together. That's pretty crazy.
Huh? What?
Your mom and your dad end up together? They're both in the
Isn't that
same.
crazy?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense. They were so different, but that must have been without words or knowing.
Yeah.
It kind of pulled them together.
Yeah. Was your grandfather, your dad, did you ever meet him?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did he?
But he was...
You saw a different guy.
Totally different guy, and he was mostly fully in dementia.
Oh.
But he would do the weirdest thing. Looking back, he would do this thing where he would pretend to have a coughing fit, and then he would open his hand, and there'd be like loose M&Ms in it, and he'd be like, "Oh!" I was like, looking back, it's just so gross.
Was he an immigrant, your grandfather?
No, I
No?
think he was born in America. He was like Boston. They're Boston Jews.
Right.
They're, kind of Boston Jews. All my grandparents were actually born in America, except for my mother's mother.
Right.
Born in Poland.
God, short temper, I think for that generation was just commonplace.
I mean,
It was just nobody knew. Nobody could ask for help. It was just try and survive, get the shit kicked out of you out in the world and come home and blow.
I mean, my dad, it's amazing how he turned out because his dad beat the shit out of him, hated him, like specifically him.
God.
His mother was so in love with her husband, his dad, that she just said nothing. She just let it happen. So she didn't stick up for him. That's gotta be horrible.
Yeah. God.
And then they so didn't want him around. They sent him off to Lawrence Academy, some not churchy, but like a boarding school.
Yeah.
And he got the shit kicked out of him there.
Jeez.
It was just
God.
crazy.
When did you learn all this?
Pretty young. My parents told us, I think I knew their whole life story. I mean, there was a point where I think I was 9 and my dad was like, I have to see prostitutes because your mom is frigid. And I'd be like, so mad at my mom for being frigid, whatever that meant. It's like so crazy. But he, we did get so close. And he was a great dad in a lot of, they got divorced and my sisters moved in with him and I stayed with my mom and he would come over every day to take a walk with me just to catch up. He never met, unlike my mom never went to a single game. I was an athlete,
Yeah.
My dad never missed a game.
Right.
And then sometimes he would pick me up at 6 a.m. before school and we'd go to the YMCA and swim laps and then get an Egg McMuffin and he'd drop me off at school. And it was just, looking back, it's so special,
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, the idea of not being able to be around your child has got to be so intense. I just don't understand. It's God, it's insane that he was able to keep that connection.
Yeah, I mean, they always lived 2 minutes from each other, which is really great. And
did they get cool with each other? Even just with the
they
meetups?
hated each other's guts during their whole marriage, and then a really ugly divorce where they did everything wrong in terms of what we know now of handling with kids. And but at a certain point, they became war buddies, army pals.
Right.
And then they really were brother and sister. They both met the loves of their lives, and then my stepmother would send my dad to my mom's house to get his fingernails and his toenails clipped because he didn't know how to do it himself. I mean, really, men, especially at that time, had no skills.
No skills.
They don't know how to do the laundry. They don't know how to feed themselves.
Cook,
my dad could
cook
never
anything.
feed himself. He never knew how to feed himself unless he made a chocolate shake.
My mother still worries about my father. How's he gonna eat? Did you eat? Should I make you? And can I make you an egg? And I don't, because I don't think he really can.
No, he can't. He would only eat the egg yolks. My dad and my stepmother would literally a year ago. I remember my stepmother boiling an egg. She takes the white off and throws it out and hands him the yolk, which of course is not the healthy part, but it's the only part he would eat.
Yeah. Do you think that it gave you? How did it shape where you were going to go for your life?
I think watching them, watching my dad change was amazing to see because you don't expect you shouldn't expect that to ever happen, but it really, really did. And
yeah.
we just got we always were close, but we just got very close. And I could talk to him about anything. I loved his politics. Like, I really, even in the end, like, I wish he was around now because he just always talked sense.
Yeah.
Like,
and had good T-shirts.
And good T-shirts. He did. I mean, he had a store. He ran the store that his dad, took over his dad's store, which is, loaded and stuff. But there was like a vestibule, where, in Manchester, New Hampshire, the weather, it gets ice, So you walk in and there's like heat, and then you walk into the store. And he would leave the first door open all winter long for homeless people to sleep in the vestibule.
Wow.
He always was very kind.
Yeah. It always is. I'm always in awe of people that were in that kind of charity comes natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He definitely
like some
didn't
people
get it
spend
from his upbringing.
Yeah, some people have like a whole lifetime to have to be like learn those lessons to be kind to people. Yeah. And other people it's hardwired that they're just, of course that's what you do.
Yeah.
Did the tumultuous, unorthodox family life have an effect on your dating, your craving for family?
Well, I mean, I remember being in kindergarten on Julie Blinkensop's driveway, and she was talking about how I'm going to grow up and I'm going to get married and blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying, and it's so wild looking back, like, oh, why would you ever want to hate someone that much? Because all I knew...
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious now. It was like,
yeah.
I just knew, like, you get married and then you fucking hate each other's guts.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like,
so why am I going to race towards that? I don't remember them
smiling at each other, nothing. Until years later. I mean, when my mom died, she was holding my dad and my stepmother's hands.
Wow. So. Yeah. God, that's insane. It really is...
As you get older, you realize nothing matters. Like any beef you're holding on to or whatever, like who cares?
Yeah. What do you mean, beef with other people? Like
holding on to like anger about stuff or whatever. Like,
I know. Yeah, people have grudges. A lot of Italian family members like, I'll never speak to him again, and they don't. They just completely shut it out.
We're friends with a couple comics from a family of 10 siblings that are never speaking to each other.
Yeah, right.
Like, wow.
I know. Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Do you feel like ultimately, I know this is kind of corny, but that helped you creatively? Like when you talk about you being natural and knowing yourself, like if you're sitting there at 5 going, no, I see what this path is. There's a confidence in that kid of like, I know where I'm going.
Did I ever tell you this? This is, you think you've heard every story about yourself when you were little, like once you're, whatever, or your siblings have told you everything.
Yeah.
I was at Largo a few years ago, and Adam Sandler, our parents were friendly.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know him until we were adults, but he knew my sister Laura, like from grade school and stuff. And
that's so great.
Our parents were friends, and his mom was my nursery school teacher, and she tells a story about me that I had never heard. And when he went on at Largo, he told it, and it was so wild to be like in my 40s and hear a story about myself. Like,
yeah, weird.
And he said she tells it all the time, where she said she was like scolding a little kid for swearing or something, and I must have been listening, and I like went, "Those are at home words." But yeah, were you like in my family, I was like definitely the one that made everyone laugh, and that was like my job. And I feel like every comedian, comedy is their means of survival of your, everyone has survival skills that they form to get through childhood. Yeah. And I would say 100% of comics, for that, it's being funny.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So then so much of what we learn to get through childhood does no longer serve us in our adulthood. And we have to unlearn those things. But as comics, you don't want to unlearn the things that made you funny. So there's so many comics who are fear therapy or getting well, and maybe they should, because I'm probably less funny as I've had more therapy, but I'm happier.
Yeah. I know. Did you watch the Steve Martin documentary?
I've only seen the first half so far. I'm watching the second half tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting journey of growing up in a certain way and what that does to your life and how it affected you creatively.
The relationship with his father.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's intense.
It's amazing that he's got so many pictures and footage and,
I know. It's like Bob Dylan. It's like, who was taking all of these shots the first week he got to New York?
I just feel like so many greats are like, yeah, you should probably have a camera on there,
Yeah, you're going to want to film this. What? You don't even have an album yet. And they have all this footage on
I was like Val Kilmer. Remember that recently?
That documentary.
Because he had,
yeah.
When video cameras came out, he was like doing, it was like in the middle of like Top Secret and all this stuff. And he was filming everything.
I had a moment, this is just in relation, Steve Martin didn't have a family when he was rising and doing all of his stuff. And his great love was art and then comedy. And I remember the first time I did the Tonight Show, with Leno, and I did the thing, and then during the break, he's talking to me. It's the first time we're meeting, really, and he's like, "Oh, that was really funny. It's great to have you here." I said, "Oh, you got this show? Yeah, that's great." He said, "Are you married? Do you have kids?" I said, "Yeah, I got married a couple of years ago. We just had our first daughter." And he went, "Oh," and went back. I was like, what?
You know that he was doing the math in his head where he wanted to tell you, like, oh, that's going to hold you back,
Don't do it.
But then he realized he's in front of all of America and like, no one can relate to that.
Yeah, well, this was while the cameras were off.
Oh.
This is when he was just talking like, cameras are off. And he was just like, oh, it's too bad. You almost had it.
But you did it. You made it work.
You almost had it. Yeah, but everybody kind of makes it work. It's such an interesting thing because comedy, regardless of whatever other relationship you have, there's also this great love, this comedy thing. It's such a deep, deep relationship that you have. Purely just you and whatever your little brain is cooking up and doing these shows. But it is a dominant relationship, whether you have kids or you get married or you don't. It's this giant thing that you have this love affair with that nobody else can really understand.
Yeah.
It's pretty heavy, especially if it's not funny.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I was just like, it made me think about just, we have this need to get approval from strangers, and like healing from that makes it you less like, I have to stand up every night, but then there's another part of you that goes, but you need that drive or you won't be able to put, it's like going to the gym. You can't just do it once a month or, you got to like always be doing it. So it's hard. Like my boyfriend is a comic too, and he understands, everything. But like, he's working a day job. He writes for Kimmel, so he gets home at like 6:30. I don't want to be now heading out because I want to hang out with him. But that's not him putting that on me, and I need to like,
No, but you also, want to be around.
Quality of life. Yeah.
Like, no, I was just listening. I was just listening to this guy speaking on this podcast, and he was saying
just say it, Jordan Peterson. Go on.
It wasn't. It was Timothy Kelleher or something. He was a Christian preacher, and he moved to New York. David Brooks loved him. David Brooks was like, this, when he passed, David Brooks was like, the lessons, the wisdom that this guy unearthed was really great. And it's very Christian, but very intellectual.
Yeah, like Jesuit.
Yeah.
I love them.
I know. They're cool.
I love those Jesuits.
I
learned it's Jesuit. It's not Jesuit.
And he was talking about basically putting your love in God realizing that your relationships are all come and go. And if you purely can have a relationship with a God, this acceptance of that you're craving and trying to get adoration from everybody in your life, all this stuff goes away. It's not that important. And he even says, and this is what kind of struck me, he said, for people who get up and actually do the job of getting up in front of people and getting applause, and people will stand on their feet and give you a standing ovation at the end, the thing that the people that don't do that don't understand is that doesn't last. When you stand up and you get a standing ovation and you're like, your friends are like, holy shit, like you blew that theater apart. And it really doesn't linger.
Right.
It doesn't last. And it was like, yes, this is a really nice lesson, that craving that is kind of petty. And I get all of that. And to just be peaceful and do the right things and live a good life so you're right with God.
Totally. And whatever that is, like, in therapy itself,
right?
Not to compare God and self, but it's just the practice of accepting yourself, having grace with yourself, being kind to yourself, being as kind and forgiving to yourself as you are to any schmuck on the street.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
But when you do it, it isn't, I think people confuse that with like conceit or something. But that's
right.
The truth is, if you're okay with yourself and you accept yourself, then you have space for others. It's people who are constant self-deprecation that they might feel like it's modesty, but it's not. It's self-obsession. There isn't space for other things.
Right. And it kind of struck me like, yeah, this is great advice, and I'm glad I'm hearing this. And it's like a good perspective, and I just like hearing it. I don't know if it would have been valuable when I was 25,
right,
starting stand-up comedy and running as hard as you can, and trying your best to do, like, it doesn't really, I don't know if I would have been a stand-up comedian if I had followed those rules right out of the gate.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, sometimes you need that ego for drive.
Yeah, right, exactly. Remember when...
if you already realize in your 20s that nothing matters,
you're screwed.
You're going to have a hard time getting your hour together.
I know. I was thinking like, oh, this would be good for my daughters to hear. No, I don't think, maybe not right now. I don't think it would be good. They're just going out into the world. They got to go do it. You got to be kind of hungry. Be kind, but you got to kind of hustle.
Yeah.
I love watching you work at Largo when you have nothing. I always tell this story of you one night at Largo, and you were working through like discovering new stuff, and you had your pad out, and you were looking at it, and the set was like halfway through, and you said to the audience, just so you know, I could be killing right now.
Like, that's ego, but it's just like at a certain point you're like meandering through, and the audience there are such comedy fans. It's like almost impossible to let them down. They love the process. They're totally, I mean, that's why it's like good to go to the Improv and go, oh no, I can still eat total shit. I was at the Improv not long ago, and it was so bad I just went, can you laugh? Like, even just fake it, just so I know if it's possible. And they gave me a big laugh, and I went, oh, wow. Oh, boy. But it's good.
But you're more fearless than most. You are more fearless than most. When I watch everybody work, and your ego, you're able to put your ego aside,
right? But
than most.
I still felt the need to go like, listen, I have strong material, but doing that tonight would not help me write more.
Yeah, but I think most comedians say, oh, screw this, and then here's some of my greatest hits for the last.
It's so hard to not want to, like, there was this young comic on a show at Largo that I was just on, somebody else's show, and it was his first time there, and it was like, there were like heavy hitters in the wings, kind of just like, oh, who's this? Yeah. And he just, and it was the Sklar Brothers show, right? So it was like, try new stuff, and we're going to write tags.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he was just like, I I just want to do my best stuff. Like, he was pretty vulnerable and like saying like, fucking, this is such high pressure. And it was really sweet. You know, watching him, he was very funny.
How, have you, whenever you go through big changes, it's always, you're like, almost who am I on stage for a minute?
Yeah.
Right? You're like, wait, this isn't the same person that wrote jokes 5 years ago. After all your big changes over the last several years, do you kind of know where you're at, or are you still in shift mode?
Yeah, I feel like I'm working on like my next hour, and it's like right now I just have like 20 minutes about my dad and my stepmom dying, and then like 15 minutes of etc. Like whatever, like random, like hey, you ever notice flies or whatever, like. And now I'm trying to figure out how to integrate them. My last tour was the first time that I didn't have my whole hour before going out on the road. I had like 35 minutes, and I was like, wow, at the end of this tour, I'm shooting a 1 hour special.
Wow.
Like, well, I wonder what that's going to be,
And how long was the tour?
It was like Thursday through Sunday of 2.5 months. Maybe 3 months. And
wow.
And it happened. You know what I mean? It's so interesting now going, wow, by May I will have finished this, whatever it is. Like when we were doing Stupid Pet, I remember thinking, wow, we have conceived of none of this. And by, whatever, December 16th, we'll have shot it all. And instead of like getting completely paralyzed with fear, I just was like, this is going to happen. Yeah. It's going to. And it did.
Yeah.
And and it will feel like a blip, even though every day felt like a long, like every minute was long.
Yeah.
That's what Rory said this analogy I had never heard about, like, because we were talking about how fast time goes, and then we feel so trite. We just sound like our parents when we would roll our eyes when they would say, oh, time goes so fast. But it's like, I guess there's an analogy of just the marble in the funnel. It's like when you're young, it's going around the widest part, and then we're at that like coil where it's like, beep, 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 beep.
Oh, no, I never heard that. That's insane.
But like the second he said it, I was like, oh my God, it's true.
I know. I just saw a picture of my kids were really little, like 3 and 5. We're just all sitting in the yard together. And I was like, oh man, well, that was a moment like that I barely remember.
It's so crazy. Like, it's funny because I said something about this in a couple specials ago, but it's like when you have kids, like your kids are a measurement of time. You're like, oh, well, Billy was 5, so it must have been 92 or whatever. Yeah. And when you don't have kids, it's just 9/11. It's just like it's before or after 9/11.
I just watched Attell's special last night.
Oh, I saw that it was. I was so happy to see him in a like right when you open Netflix.
Yeah, I know. It's so cool. He even like calls out, let's talk about tech, and then boom, 5 great jokes about that, and then let's talk about smoking, and boom, 5 like it's so great to watch still after all this time.
Oh my gosh, there's just no one better. He should just always have a special because he's so prolific. He writes so many jokes.
Yeah, and it's 37 minutes, and he's like, this is what it is.
Yeah,
and it's more than enough.
I never in England, if you don't do 2 hours, they like protest. It's just like I don't want 2 hours of anything.
I know.
But even if you kill, if it's a minute too long or a few minutes too long, that's what they remember.
Yeah, you feel it. It's such a cool thing to watch because he's so good at jokes. He's never really telling you, this is my life. This is, my whole thing is, this is where I'm at in all my relationships. And he never tells you that, but you still know exactly who he is at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like there's just an essence of Dave, that he's kind of, he does this great joke. I look like a guy that comes out of the fog. with a lantern. But you just get the essence of this human being. It's so interesting. Like,
well, isn't there some, I don't know what this is, a parable or a story, or maybe it was in an episode of a TV show or something, but it's a therapist and the patient is, has to go to therapy for some mandated thing, and they're, like, arms folded, and they have the session or whatever, and the guy's like, oh, wasn't I supposed to talk about, like, my relationship with my mother? And the therapist is like, oh, you did. Like, it's just, doesn't matter where you start or what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really true. Are you going to stay in this relationship, you think, to the end? This is a long one for you.
Thinking about it.
This is you seem like
this
very in love.
This is a long one for you.
You seem like you're in love.
I am in love. I feel done, yeah. I feel done with Rory. I never, ever thought I would live with someone again.
Yeah.
I had no desire to do that. Well, I hadn't done it in, like 11 years or something.
Yeah.
And I remember having a boyfriend, and he was complaining to me before Rory that, he's like, we always stay at your place. You've never stayed at my place. It's not normal. And I have, like, those guilt pangs that would always come after a certain amount of time in a relationship. And then finally I was just like, you know what? It is normal. It's just usually the other way around.
Right.
And he was like, oh, yeah. I kind of couldn't argue.
Yeah.
But it's hard to give in and lose yourself and go all in, and yeah, he's a great partner, that Rory.
Yeah, it's cool. Is it weird that he works for Kimmel?
I mean, isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but you seemed to, from the outside, it seemed like you and
Jimmy puts it the best. It's like we're like brothers. But no, it's really nice. It's nice to kind of only be peripheral, like to be back connected to that world peripherally is really lovely.
Right.
But when we were first together, he didn't work there. And they both were at Jon Stewart's, because Rory used to run the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, so they both were at Jon Stewart's Mark Twain Awards and just hit it off, and then he got a call, and the next Monday he was working there.
Yeah,
he was like, tell me if you have a problem with it. And I was like, I'm trying to think if I do, but I don't at all. And then I guest hosted the Daily Show a couple of times, which is run by Rory's ex-wife.
Weird. Right.
Jen Flans. So it's nice.
How did you like that? Did you think you could do that?
I loved it. I loved the experience.
Yeah.
It's so different from working on something that's weekly. I mean, obviously, and just like a talk show too, but it was just, it's so immediate, and, good has to be good enough. Like, I remember when I hosted Saturday Night Live once, and Lauren said something that I always thought was funny, but when I guest hosted The Daily Show, really rang true in a positive way, which was, he said, we were at the after party, which is very, as you do. And Martin Short came, but he wasn't on and Lauren said, Marty almost did a piece on Update. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't you do it? And he was like, oh, I don't know. And Lauren spoke for him, and is like, Marty's problem is he thinks things have to be perfect when really they only have to be good. And I thought that was so funny, but then you go to The Daily Show, and Jen Flans, who runs the show, keeps you on. You have to stay on schedule. You cannot toil over one joke.
Right.
So if we're working on one joke and going back and forth and honing, which I could do forever, after a couple minutes, she's like, keep it, kill it, or move on. And it's so exhilarating, because you just gotta go. You have to make a show by 6 p.m. and you're working right up until the second. And it's really fun and exhilarating, but I don't know. I think I was like in the best place in my life to do it, because I've got a good perspective. I'm the wisest I've ever been. I've got my shit together more than I ever have. But I get very tired. Like, the idea of doing it 4 days a week. Yeah. Like, Trevor would go on the road on the weekends. I would need to be sleeping from Thursday night to Sunday.
Yeah, it makes sense that John's only doing it Mondays.
Makes total sense. Yeah. But
you in a very real way seem very much built for it. Just your perspective and your bravery, and you're going to. I think that's why they're having trouble. When John came back, it was like, oh, he's so good at this because he really believes it.
Yeah.
He really, truly, he's not just a funny person who kind of believes it and got some good lines and now we're going to put it out there. He truly, you can see it, his heart and soul is in it. And you carry the same thing with issues and stuff. You really, you seem, I don't know how you get to it so quickly, but you distill it, believe it, and deliver it, and we're leaning in because of that. So I was like, I wonder if you would take that gig, because it is built for you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's that horrible thing between like loving it and really feeling like I could do it, and then like quality of life. Like I like several days off.
Yeah. And you're doing it. That
and
same
I like doing
thing.
odd jobs, you know?
Right, yeah.
I love doing stand-up. I like acting. I like to speak in my mind, and I like doing a ton of nothing.
Right.
Too, you know, like aggressively nothing.
Can you do nothing?
I can.
You can?
I have reignited my love, and I'm embarrassed about it, of Call of Duty.
Oh, really?
And
I just got a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Just because I want to.
And it started with the pandemic. I just like bought a PlayStation and a game and a headphone. And that's how Roy and I met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
I didn't know that.
We started playing Call of Duty during the pandemic, and we killed Nazis together, 705, and then I whatever. And then recently I'm back. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love killing. You know, I love this just pretend killing. It's the haptics, like it's satisfying when you kill someone. I mean, of course, in real life. I mean, much like porn, what I'm into is not anything I would want in real life. But I find it it's the time just goes by. Like sometimes I'll get him to play with me, and now I even know how to do it by myself. Like I set it up, and it's
that's amazing. Is there a ethical problem with porn?
Well, yeah, that's why my search words have changed over the years, which because it used to be like gangbangs and stuff, and then it really, when my nieces got to be like adult age, and it shouldn't take that. That's like, you know, that's like when men are like, I have a daughter, so I care about women's rights. Like, oh, but if you didn't. But
your nieces.
So then I started. Now I'm more into guys fucking like pocket pussies and stuff, but then still talking really dominant, which is just so. It does the trick, but it's also hilarious and a little bit heartbreaking.
Rashida Jones did that documentary on porn.
Oh,
did you ever see it?
No, I remember hearing about that. It's supposed to be great, right?
Yeah, it's tough to look at porn after it.
Oh, is it like these women are? I mean, a lot of women are the directors now and stuff like that. And there's stuff like Sweetheart Video, which is lesbian porn. I watch like lesbian and gay porn too, because I feel like, but I'm even though my kink was kind of like. Not I got worried for the women, so then I had to change it. Yeah, but it's good. I like it with these silicone dolls that they look really real, other than they're so thin and they have huge tits. It's good, because then when the men say these dominating things yeah, you whore, I'm gonna come in you or whatever. No one's hurt,
right?
But it's because there's not even a person there.
Yeah, she's just going to be put in the closet until next week. Yeah. You said,
hopefully dishwashed or rinsed in some way.
You said when you were talking about the Daily Show thing, you mentioned Wise.
Little pivot there.
Wise, yeah. No, it's kind of a.
Well, just like I'm not.
There's
I'm
a
not saying
wisdom.
I'm wise, but
No,
I'm
but
the
you do have a
oldest
wisdom. I think
I've ever been, and
I think of you that way all the time, even when you are younger. You have a wisdom. Your whole podcast it's your wisdom.
It's so funny because I really enjoy doing it, and I love the listeners and how the callers will call in after hearing other callers with help and ideas or these people can call and they help each other and everything. But sometimes I have a puff at night and I think about my podcast and I go, oh God. Like if it wasn't me, I'd probably be like, what the fuck? Or they think they're fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
No.
what am I? I mean, I always am quick to say, like, listen, I'm talking out of my ass. This is just what I've pieced together over the years. I'm not a professional, but
you're on point. I adore you, but I think just as a listener, you would think, Joe, you don't adore Sarah, but don't you think the podcast is great? That she's wise?
Yeah, exactly. I started by hate watching, but now I'm there.
No, I mean, I could totally see the hate watching aspect of it. Like, I don't hear any of it because my friends love me and they say nice things.
Right.
And I don't read. I don't know if there's, whatever, but I could totally see just finding it extremely cringy, but this is, I don't know,
you're not
doing it.
No, because you're not preachy. You have good you have good advice. You have a good way to sum things up.
It's pretty much
ever
like the
miss
same
and
two things over and over again.
What do you mean?
Just like your number one job is your happiness.
Right.
And accepting yourself and all the things that I currently also struggle with. I mean, it's not like I've figured it out. I definitely know, like, I have a pretty good idea what the right answer is, but I have just as hard a time. I mean, it's like writing jokes for other people is so much more pleasurable than writing jokes for yourself. It's like,
isn't it amazing that it never stops? Like you have to relearn lessons like minute to minute.
It's interesting, like watching remember the Joan Rivers documentary?
Yeah.
So brilliant. And there's so much amazing stuff in it, but there's so much I wish she had realized in her lifetime to make her own happiness better. You know what I mean? Like, she brought happiness to so many people, but the angst that we can totally relate to, I wish she had, I get, but there, she said something that was so inspiring to me, and she fucking hated it when people go like, you're an icon or you're a legend, because she's still in it. She's a comic.
Right.
She's still writing every day. And so, of course, she has to just understand people mean it in the most wonderful way and just say thank you, but she would go like, fuck you, but she said she didn't feel like she really found her voice as a comic until she was in her 70s. And I find that so inspiring because you have to always be growing and changing and figuring shit out, or it's just, you become some like caricature you made up one time in your 20s or something.
But after watching like your father, do you think you can get there? Do you think did he get there? He changed and he evolved and he became this thing.
Yeah.
He did it.
He still had blocks and things, but he was amazing.
Yeah.
I would trick him sometimes because he could still had fucked up things and everything. He totally would have benefited so much from real therapy. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, oh, my friend Mark is like, he has such a block with this and this and with his relationship, and he should go to therapy and he'd learn so. And my dad would be like, he should totally. And I go, I'm talking about you, motherfucker. I'm talking about your relationship with Janice and how it could be better and therapy would help you. And when I said it was somebody else, you agreed.
And what would he say? Just
he got me. He always did like a little fake cry if we called him out on anything. He'd just go like, woo.
That's great. Well, this was very nice.
Oh my God, it was.
Yeah, I like anything you want to know about me. We don't.
No.
Right.
Yeah, has been a very there's so much I want to know about you.
What do you want? I can give you.
How much money do you have?
I have so much money.
You have 2 children.
I do.
They have left the nest.
Mm-hmm.
And now, have you guys thought about downsizing?
It's too early.
They're still coming back.
Yeah.
You know.
My daughter's coming back for 4 months for the summer.
Like, you can't convert a room yet.
No.
To that cool rock and roll recording studio you always wanted. You're going to get the band back together.
The biggest thing is just walking around with no clothes on.
Oh, yeah.
You can just walk. Oh, I forgot something I'll just walk over and get it before I get in the shower.
That's good. You have a daughter and a son?
Both.
No, you have two daughters.
Yeah.
All right. So my dad, 4 daughters.
Right.
So, yeah, he was the only one because, like, when he wasn't there, we all could be
Yeah.
in states of undress.
Yeah.
The dad, yeah.
No, there was, at a certain age, you're just like, all right, this is over.
Adam Carolla has the best, take on, everyone sees their dad's penis by accident when they're like 2 or 3, and that is why everyone thinks their dad has a huge penis. And it's so true.
I had the opposite once when I was down at the beach. We my parents with like the whole family gets together at my parents' beach house. Aww. And we had all these nephews. They were all 5 or 6 at the time, and I just came out of the ocean and was in the shower, like the outdoor shower. And the kids were all like trying to peek underneath the thing. And I'm like, get out of here, leave me alone. And I came upstairs after with my towel on, and my father said, the kids say that they saw your penis. I was like, oh boy. And they said it was kid sized. It was cold. And we don't speak about it anymore, but I really feel like they all think that.
They must all think you have just no penis.
Yeah, they're all like 25, 30 now.
Well, now they understand the grower aspect.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, well, this is great.
Now I do know everything. Now I want to know about you.
Enjoy the bread.
I'm really
Say hi
excited.
to Rory.
I'm going to go home and just put butter on it.
Yeah, that's it. A little toast tomorrow would be perfect. It's great.
What kind of bread is this?
That is a sourdough country loaf.
Oh,
with a little whole
loaf.
wheat, and all-purpose.
Oh my God, I'm gonna eat this whole thing.
I hope so. Have fun with it.
Thank you. Sorry, that's a brown paper bag. Everyone's here.
And thanks for giving me permission to smoke 1 cigarette a day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool.
I mean, I can't guarantee it won't kill you, but that's what I'm doing.
All right, Joe, we got it.